So people are just joining us now. We're just going to give it another minute as everybody settles in, and then we will get started.
So we don't see them, right, Kate, as panelists?
No,
No.
they are,
Yeah.
they,
Okay.
you just see the attendees. So as of right now, we've got, about, it's creeping in to close to, creeping up to about 100
57.
people. Yeah, 57. So, but this is being recorded, and we will let Commodore, you can take it away.
Okay, thank you, Kate. And welcome, sailors, to the third annual 75th Block Island Race. Third time, we very much hope is the charm. And just to kick off, I'd like to thank our event chair, JT, and our event dean, Ray Redness, who is trying to exit from the Block Island chair after I don't know how many editions, but thank you both, JT and Ray. Also want to thank Stanford Yacht Club, our partner in this event, who are just terrific, have always been so terrific to work with, and does such a great job with the Vineyard Race at the other end of the summer. Look forward to seeing you all there on Sunday at the awards. Obviously, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Real McCoy Rum, Regatta Craft Mixers, Harbor Point Wine and Spirits, McMichael's Yacht Yard and Brokerage, and of course, Sea Tactics. Sea Tactics was founded in 2019 by Chelsea Carlson. Sea Tactics is a 1% for the Planet organization member, doing good by doing well. Chelsea is the meteorologist for the U.S. sailing team and an accomplished sailor and navigator herself. And with that, and without further ado, we'll turn it over to Chelsea.
Great, thanks, Ed. It's really good to be here with everyone. Let me get my screen up and rolling, and just, like a little bit of brief housekeeping. If you guys have questions at any point, feel free to put them in the Q&A box. We're going to try to keep the chat more to just like technical issues or general questions, and weather related stuff go into the Q&A, and I'll take a couple pauses throughout to check the Q&A and check the questions. And then there'll be some time at the end too. It won't take that long to go through everything, and you guys can ask some questions at the end. So like Ed mentioned, if I haven't met you in person before, I probably know a lot of you because I've done a few Block Island races, but if I haven't met you, I'm Chelsea. I'm a meteorologist and weather coach. My company is Sea Tactics. We do custom weather forecasting and then weather and strategy education with online courses that I'll tell you about towards the end. And then of course, I also work with the US Olympic team. So really quick, before we go into weather, I just wanted to, people always ask what all my favorite weather links are and what I use. So I just made a PDF, and I have a free weather resource library where you can go and get the list of all my favorite weather links and everything that I use. I also have some videos up there and like book recommendations and stuff. You can also find info on the online courses on my website too. And I'm going to give you guys a discount code at the end. So if you stay tuned, you can get that at the end. So without further ado, we'll take a look at the weather for this weekend's race coming up. So we're going to start off by just taking a look at the surface maps. So I like to start with the big picture and then work my way kind of down towards the small scale stuff. Oops, let's get rid of this for now. Okay, so you should be seeing the surface weather maps, and what we have here, let me get up to where we're at tomorrow morning. So by tomorrow morning, what we're going to be looking at, just to kind of orient you, the green colors are the chances for rain. The blue kind of pointy line is a cold front, and then if you see kind of where there's orange and red striped areas, that's like areas where it's chances for thunderstorms. So by tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., what we've got is low pressure kind of over the Midwest. And then there's another area further up to the Northeast. And what's going to happen is this low is going to shift northeast and consolidate in with the other low. And the high pressure that you see kind of over the Central Plains and Texas area, that's going to shift east over across to the east coast of the US. So I'll go forward here. So this is right around start time or just before start time. We can see there's the cold fronts moved a little closer and there's maybe just a slight chance of rain. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but I think it's probably going to actually be mostly dry on Friday. Friday evening, we can see the front is not moving very quickly, but it's moved just a little bit. And then by Saturday morning, it's creeped even closer, but essentially it's taking its time getting across. But you can see that the low has moved up to the northeast and the high pressure has basically then kind of pushed in closer to the east coast. And then by Saturday evening, we finally start to get that cold front moving just barely across Long Island Sound. And by Sunday morning, it's pushed all the way across and the high pressure has moved overhead. So we're going to be looking for that cold front coming through at the end of the day on Saturday, kind of maybe around the time that the last few boats are finishing the race. And then by Sunday morning, it's going to be really nice weather, but not much wind. So we'll take a look kind of at the details of each day as we go. All right, so I like to kind of give you a little bit of a visual too. I think Windy is a great resource just to kind of give you some like motion to the wind and see what the wind actually, what the numbers are and what the wind's actually doing. So Friday afternoon, again, we're going to start somewhere around 3 o'clock. We're mostly going to have this southerly flow. All right, so it's a gradient wind. Right now we're looking at the European model. And each model is a little different especially when it comes to Saturday. So I'll talk about that. But essentially the European has one of the stronger wind speeds. So if I just kind of scroll through, I'll show you how the winds increase through Friday night into Saturday morning. And it's probably one of the breezier models that we have showing for Saturday morning with winds in the 20s. Some of the other models are not quite that windy. So I think I hedged it down just a little bit. And as we go through Saturday morning, yeah, it starts to decrease a little bit as the front actually gets a little closer. The storms are going to move out of the way. I'll talk about the storms in a minute, but Saturday then basically it gets a bit lighter. And by Saturday afternoon, we're starting to see that front come in. So well, the front actually comes in when the wind shifts directions. So not when the storms come through, but when the wind is actually then shifts into a west or northwest, which won't happen probably until Saturday in the very late afternoon or early evening. So the front finally comes in. It might be a pretty dry front. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of storms with it. And then we'll get into the northwest drier flow Saturday evening. So that's kind of giving you a little bit more of the wind direction there. And now I'm going to switch back and we'll kind of take a look at a detailed breakdown for each day. So let's go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so breaking it down starting on Friday. So again, this is just the weather map to remind us of what's going on, the cold fronts to the west, and it's getting closer. So a little bit of a breakdown for Friday. So we're going to start off with fairly light breeze in the beginning part of the day. That gradient wind is going to struggle just a little bit to push all the way into Western Long Island Sound. And that might be complicated a little bit by potentially some thermal breeze, like trying to maybe fight its way in there. But so the morning looks fairly light. But by the afternoon, the gradient should be able to push its way in. A lot of that's going to depend on sky cover. So I'll show you the cloud forecast in a minute, but it's going to be really cloudy and there might be some breaks of sun. And the more sun there is, kind of the better chances that the gradient will be able to mix down a little bit sooner. But if it stays really cloudy, it might be fairly light breeze. The wind direction is mainly south. We could see a little bit of south-southeast. It's eventually going to be going more into a south-southwest as the day progresses. So a little bit of a veering trend. For Friday, like I said, I think it's going to be actually mostly dry. There's a lot of cloud cover, but the rain chances are actually fairly low for most of the day until it gets to be later in the evening. So just a slight chance, mainly after dark and once we get closer to midnight. We'll take a look at the currents and the tides as we get a little bit closer. And I've got some more details about each day here that's going to be in the written PDF forecast. And that's going to be posted online kind of with the recording of this, but you'll have more of a discussion from me on that, and then I'll share the different temperatures and stuff. But basically the high temperature for Friday is going to be like 70s over land, low 60s at night, and the water temps are still in the upper 50s. So quite a bit of a difference there between the water temp and the land temp. And we'll see how that affects the storms when we get to Saturday. So for Saturday, again, we've got the cold front that's getting closer. We're going to see most of any storms that could happen on early Saturday morning, basically from 5 a.m. to from 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. is roughly when we'll see most of the stronger storms potentially go through. And then this is the evening on Saturday when the cold front has, again, kind of pretty much gone through. So at this point, everyone's probably turning around and heading back in towards Long Island Sound. So the wind speeds are obviously much stronger on Saturday. There is some big model differences, which I mentioned. The European model has basically winds up to 20 to 25 knots. The GFS is much lighter with only about mid-teens maximum. And then the NAM model is split between the two. And so I've favored really closer to the NAM for now until we get a little more high res data tomorrow. I always like looking at the HER or the HRRR model. That one is pretty good for the short term. So once we get a little closer, we'll see what the HER is saying on that. So yeah, basically the gradient's going to increase. We could see up to around 20 around any showers, 20 to 25 near showers. So some of the models are showing that basically convective breeze picking up around the showers. And then I think the winds could be a bit up and down around some of these showers. So the models that look really strong, I think there's going to be times that the winds are strong, but in between when the showers are passing by and it's not raining anymore, the wind's probably going to drop down again. So it could be, just depending on where the showers are, could be a bit up and down. So you can see I've basically got upper teens and showers and stuff early in the morning for Block Island Sound. As people get back into Eastern Long Island Sound, it starts to decrease just a little bit. You're kind of getting into a little more protected area. And then most boats, I think, are probably finishing towards the end of the day Saturday, and we'll have the winds basically dropping a little bit as the front approaches. And then you see I have it showing here around 5 p.m. the wind switches into the west and the west northwest, and that's the cold front coming through. So sometime in the evening we'll have the cold front pushing through, and then it looks like it gets fairly breezy out of the west and northwest because the skies should clear and we should get some good mixing coming down. So that's kind of the overview for Saturday. And then I wanted to take a minute and talk a little bit about the clouds and showers and storms and show you what some of the models have going on for that. Because there's one model that was doing pretty well showing it for Saturday. Let me get over here to, yeah, this HER model is pretty good. So basically what we'll see for Saturday is, this is, again, it's just a model depiction of what we could see happen with showers and storms. But basically we've got some showers here coming through. I think it's going to be a fairly broken line. If I back up just a little bit, you can see that while it's over land Friday afternoon, it's going to be more of a solid line over land. But what happens is once those storms get over the water, they kind of break up a bit, especially because the water's so cool. So it becomes more stable, and the storms just break apart. So you're going to see those basically breaking apart through Saturday morning. There might be a few kind of embedded storms in the southerly flow coming up, but I don't think it's going to be a complete washout. And you can see by 8 a.m., 9 a.m., it's all basically moved east of Block Island. So those showers along with the trough are going to move fairly quickly. And then basically we've got clearing from west to east Saturday during the day. So you can see it's starting to get clear over New York, and it'll clear from the western part of the sound eastward. And then I'll switch over to the NAM because my HRR kind of runs out. But for the end of the day Saturday, there might be another chance of some showers or thunderstorms along that cold front edge. So remember how I said the cold front's going to come through in the afternoon and evening? There might be a secondary push of some clouds, maybe a thunderstorm. We'll see what happens. But again, typically the thunderstorms are going to break up over the cold water. And so maybe a little bit of activity with that cold front coming through Saturday afternoon. So really only two potential bands. You could kind of consider it in bands. The chance of rain early in the morning, then clearing midday, and the chance of rain again later in the afternoon. And if there's going to be any thunderstorms, it's probably going to be with the cold front towards the end of the day on Saturday. All right. The other thing I wanted to just show you quickly, let's talk briefly about, well, we'll come back and do currents in a minute. I'm sorry, I'm switching back and forth quite a lot, but I want to talk a little bit about clouds here while we have a moment, while we're on the topic. Okay, so you guys should be back to seeing the PowerPoint again now. So winds under these clouds. So remember how I said it's probably going to be on and off, cloudy, sunny, especially during the day Friday. We might see areas where it's kind of thin clouds and maybe there's some sun poking through, and then areas where it's like heavier flat clouds. So the one thing to look out for, this is just like a little strategy kind of tidbit, is that underneath the flat clouds, the wind is subject to more friction. And so it tends to be more shifted left and a little bit lighter, especially if those clouds are mid-level or low-level clouds. All right. And then under clear skies or even very high level clouds where it kind of just looks a little hazy, it's not subject to quite as much friction on the surface of the water. So there's not as much of a left shift. It's relatively more in the gradient direction. And the breeze is a little bit stronger. So just a general rule of thumb that you can put into practice on Friday is to try to stay under clear skies, try to avoid any, especially like flat areas of clouds and getting underneath them. And yeah, try to go for either clear skies or very thin, high level clouds. Anywhere it looks brighter, there's probably going to be a little bit more wind. And again, part of that is because the wind is lifting up underneath the clouds. It's literally air is rising there. And so there's always going to be a little bit less wind pressure right underneath the cloud. And the reason why it shifts left, you might be wondering, why does it shift left? And that's because of friction. So for friction in the northern hemisphere, we get a bit of a left shift, more so over land than over water, but there is still a little bit of a left shift even over water because there is a little more friction at the surface. And the clouds are kind of steered by the gradient wind, which is slightly shifted more to the right. Okay, so that's kind of just a good rule of thumb to think about. Another reason why there's more breeze under the clear skies is because of mixing. So basically, and this is going to come into play, especially on Friday when there's that southerly that's coming in, and anytime the skies are clear or it's in between storms, let's say, the winds that are higher up at 2,000 feet or so are a bit stronger. Those winds are going to be able to mix down to the surface. And so that's what causes the wind speeds to be stronger under the clear skies. Okay, so before we go into anything else, I'm just going to pause and see if we have questions. I don't think I see any. at the moment. Okay, you guys can type questions in if you have them, and I'll keep going. So for Sunday, again, this is towards the end of the day, Saturday, and Sunday, that cold front pushes through. We've got high pressure. I don't think there's going to be a lot of people racing by Sunday morning. Probably it's looked like most of the fleets were going to be finishing up by Saturday afternoon, maybe early evening, but you never know. So it's good to just just talk about it anyways. I always like to go a little beyond when I think we might finish, just to, it's always good to know what's coming, right? So anyways, behind that cold front, it's northwest winds. The cold fronts across the area, we've got high pressure. So it's going to be really light in the early part of the morning. And then for the afternoon, it's becoming southwest gradient again, which is mostly from that high pressure pushing across. So definitely wanting to finish up as soon as you can before things start to get too light Sunday morning in Western Long Island Sound. Yeah, so let's see if there's any questions on that. Yeah, I guess my best advice for this is to download the HRR model. Again, it does pretty well with the short-term effects, and then keep your eyes out for clouds and showers, kind of try to navigate your way through those. And remember that with a gradient wind, you're not going to have really much to worry about in terms of sea breezes. So I'm going to back up a little bit to Saturday. Because that gradient wind is so strong from the south and southwest, you're not going to have like any reason to like maybe go too close to Connecticut shore or someplace where you might go really far from run line because of a sea breeze or anything as you're coming back in. So for the most part, with the south gradient wind, you're going to get plenty of wind pressure across the whole sound there. Yeah, so I think that's what I have basically for this regatta for you guys. If you guys have questions about things in general or clouds, I'll take a look at those. While you're typing your questions in, I just do want to tell you really quick about, for any of you guys that are racing to Bermuda, what we have available for a package that you can still get, you can still sign up for it, but basically the package I have is in combination with Current Lab, who is Kevin Rosa, who did American Magic, did all the currents for them for the America's Cup. And he also worked with us for Tokyo Olympics. And then Cloud Run, who does high resolution weather modeling. So all three of us combined are putting together the most advanced weather package that you can get, because I was going to navigate the race. And so I wanted to have the most advanced stuff for myself. Turns out I'm not going to race, but I'm going to give all of this to my clients. So I'm going to do a weather analysis and routing. Kevin's doing analysis and data, and the first one of those is going out tomorrow. And then we're giving you the highest resolution weather grids that you can get. So we're going to give you 3 kilometer resolution all the way down the course, 1 kilometer at the start. I think the Gulfstream grids are also like at 3 kilometers, which is really, really high resolution. And Kevin is custom making those. So anyways, it's going to be great. I'm really excited about our first package goes out tomorrow. So you guys can start looking at the different meanders and things in the Gulf Stream. And he's going to tell you about all the different eddies and rings and stuff. So there's still time to sign up for that, even after Block Island race after this weekend, if you're too busy today. So let me answer a couple of questions, because I do see some came in now. Okay. What is the level of uncertainty regarding the speed of the travel of the various fronts? Okay, that's a good question. So for the most part, the fronts have been fairly slow moving, and I would say slower than what a lot of the models have been suggesting. So like each day that I've looked, it's kind of gotten, well, I'll say the front has gotten a little bit slower, but at the same time, the front itself has become more defined and stronger throughout time, if that makes sense. So a couple of days ago, it was looking like there was going to be a secondary low, like down near the Chesapeake, and that it might be kind of not even really a cold front at all, but that has gone away. And so basically what's happened is this low has progressively shot off to the northeast. And with that, it's come with a bit stronger of a frontal scenario. So it's become more and more confident that there will be a cold front. And the cold front itself has become a little bit slower over the last day or so. And so my guess would be that if anything, it might come in slower than what we predict, just because, yeah, it's not a super strong high that's pushing in, and that's part of what's causing it to be slow. Okay, yeah, I do see, I was going to talk about currents, so let's go to that, because I do want to show you. This is what I look at for the currents. It's a pretty good website. And then I also use Tide Tech grids. So, you can look at those as well. But let's go to, I think I'm already at the start time here. Yeah, so this is 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock start time. And so what we see is we've got the ebb tide rolling out. And I think for most boats, when we are getting close to the exit of the sound in the afternoon, evening, let's go to 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. So what we see is basically the switch to the flood right around 5 to 6 p.m. And so 6 p.m., 7 p.m., probably by the time a lot of boats are getting to the exit, it's already going to be flooding in. So, going to have to figure out which exit is going to be best for your boat and for avoiding probably some adverse current there. Later in the evening, let's go forward a bit, it starts to become slack. This is 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. So it looks slack probably by, 10 to 11. Midnight. Oh, did I just, oops, sorry, I just reset us back to the beginning. Let's go here. There we go. So yeah, by midnight, this is Friday night. We can see it starts to, the ebb starts again, right around midnight, 1 o'clock. So midnight, 1 o'clock, probably a lot of people are out in Block Island Sound at this point. And then, pretty strong ebb, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. I would guess probably, at least from the routing I did, a lot of boats are out in Block Island Sound until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, maybe close to 5. Some boats are starting to come back into the sound, and that looks like it's also when it's starting to switch again. So this has the switch coming back into the sound by about 3 a.m., 3 to 4 a.m. it looks like. It switches to flooding again. The flood probably will end up helping quite a lot of people get back into the sound, it looks like, early in the morning. So catching that at the right time, I think, is going to be crucial, but probably a lot of people will be able to catch that early in the morning, and then come back down through the middle part of the day. By the time you get to middle part of the sound and western part of the sound, some people may be finishing at this point, but maybe you're able to kind of get far enough west before the adverse current starts up again in the afternoon there. So anyways, oh, actually, you know what? I think I just went back to the beginning when I did that. So it looks like this forecast only goes out to 47 hours, which is midnight on Friday night. So sorry, I guess I went back to the beginning again when I clicked past that. So that's all we have out for this one. But you can look on like Tide Tech grids and stuff, and it's pretty accurate for that. But I would say that getting out of the sound is probably going to be trickier than coming back in for most people. So picking your exit is going to be really important, more so than trying to get back in, I think. Okay, let's go back to the questions. Okay, so for Friday, the predict wind models are showing more breeze south of Rumline. Do you agree? And in general, what sort of wind speed difference is worth chasing? Yeah, that's a good question too. So I think in general, with a southerly gradient wind, it's pretty good to assume that the wind speed will probably be a bit stronger south of Rumline, just because, well, two things. You're closer to being offshore, The only time that doesn't apply is in Western Long Island Sound because you get a lot of buildup. So let me just get to a visual here so we can see. So almost all of these high-res models have a bit stronger wind speed on the Long Island Sound or the Long Island side. Eastern Long Island Sound is very flat, and so that makes sense that a lot of that breeze is coming over. And the other thing that happens is you get a little bit of a thermal effect that might be trying to happen on the Connecticut shore here, where you have an onshore gradient, and if it is very warm over land, it might be trying to bubble up some heat there and push off the gradient flow. So gradient flow onshore is not helpful for any kind of a sea breeze. So if there's heating and it's trying to bubble up some heat and some low pressure, and there's an onshore gradient, sometimes they kind of fight against each other a little bit. So that might be what's happening there. And yeah, it doesn't look like there's any real reason that you would want to go very far north of Rumline. Wind speed difference that's worth chasing, that's probably up to, yeah, your boat and what your boat speed, how your boat responds to 1 or 2 knots difference of wind. Some like, you know, very fast, like skiff type boats will go a lot faster in 2 knots of breeze, and some boats just won't. So yeah, that's kind of dependent on your boat, but my rule of thumb is don't go too far off Rumline unless you have a very good reason, and it's a good reason that makes sense for your boat and your strategy. Don't just do it because the routing tells you to do it is my answer. Okay, I think I maybe kind of answered Sue's question. Do you expect any shore breezes, LI, Northern Shore, or Connecticut coast? No, not really expecting anything in terms of sea breeze. The gradient's going to be too strong and taking over. And like I mentioned, there might be a bit of a thermal effect, especially if it's sunny. So if the sun does come out on Saturday, or even Friday, when I mentioned there might be patches of clouds and sun, either day, if it's sunny, that's going to promote heating over land, which then creates a heat bubble that might try to develop some kind of a sea breeze. So remember that over land, we're going to be in the 70s, and the temperature over the water is like 50. So there's a good thermal difference between those two. And so that might be what's kind of happening on the shoreline there. But I also think the models tend to overdo it a little bit. Like this shows, you know, maybe 4 knots of 6 knots of breeze there and like 15 down here. I think that's exaggerated. So you can't buy too much into these high res models. This is one thing I did want to say that I forgot to earlier, is that these high res models, you do have to be kind of careful with the wind speeds they're showing when there's clouds and rain around. So like down here where you're seeing 25 knots of breeze, it's picking up on some convective winds that it's trying to show what the winds are going to be like around a storm or around a rainstorm or cloud or a thunderstorm. So it's going to overdo the wind speeds in those areas, and it's going to underdo the wind speeds in areas where it thinks that there's a downdraft from rain. So you get kind of wacky wind speeds that are all over the place in some of these models. So you do have to kind of take that with a grain of salt. And if you see something like that, where it's really strong wind right next to no wind at all, it's a good idea to go onto Windy and just kind of overlay the storms on top of it. So you can see if the wind that it's showing is being caused by convection. So here for like, if we were in Long Island Sound right here, and we were to look at the winds here, we can see it's showing a spot with much lighter winds right next to a spot of much stronger winds. And that's mainly because there's some rain right there. And it's trying to resolve that. All right, let's go back to questions. Do you have available a good grid runtime chart with various models and when they can be pulled? Yeah, that's a good question. I created my own spreadsheet because I wanted to be able to just have the list of each grid when it becomes available and when I should go pull it. So I kind of compiled one, but I have heard that there's one on Squid website, I think. I believe Squid has like a models update section that shows you when things are getting updated.
Yeah, Chelsea, I can confirm that. And it's also, you don't need a subscription to see it.
Right, it's just on their general website, right?
Yeah, it's called model refresh rate or something.
Perfect.
Squid.
Awesome. Yep. I remember seeing that at some point. All right, and let's see one more question. With the cold front, should we not expect the Connecticut sea breeze on Saturday afternoon? Yes, so that would be my forecast, is that given given the strength of the gradient coming in on Saturday afternoon, especially if it is what it says it's going to be on the European model, which it says 15 to 20 knots from southwest, then I think that there's a good chance we're not going to get any kind of a thermal effect from there. It's always something to keep in mind that if the clouds clear, so remember I said the clouds are going to clear Saturday afternoon, so it's showing some sunny skies here. And if for some reason the gradient is not what the models are showing, if we have what, maybe is closer to the GFS or something, which is lighter, then maybe there's a chance of something, but it's going to be tough with a westerly gradient like this and a front coming in. So yeah, I would say probably not. Cool. Any other questions? You guys had some good ones. All right.
Chelsea, I just wanted to say thank you. We already have the page on stormtrysail.org right there under news. I also put the link in the chat that has your PDF forecast that you sent us earlier. And as soon as this is over, I will download and upload it to YouTube. So it'll be on our YouTube channel, and then I'll also embed that right on that page. So if anybody needs to share it, or you want to go back and listen to it again tomorrow, that will be there.
Yeah, definitely check the models again tomorrow. Things always change, especially morning of the race. So go make sure you check everything. And then just lastly, before I go, I have a sale going on for Memorial Day weekend. If you're interested in any of my courses, you can use these discount codes to get either $50 off a bundle of courses, like level 1 and level 2, or it's just 10% off one course. And that's good through the end of Memorial Day weekend. So yeah, you guys check it out, and then email me if you have any questions in general. Happy to answer them. Happy to look at cloud pictures that you send. People do that all the time. So, all right, guys, good luck in the race.
Thank you, Chelsea.
No problem. Have fun.
Thanks, Chelsea.
Enjoy. All right, bye.